What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's doing really great, really well. Life is good to you. We're going to continue our video series explaining the 7 laws of the universe. We're on the 5th law today. Number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As Dave Chappelle would say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. Sorry for being silly. The 5th law of the universe is the law of rhythm. Quickly, let's go back the previous 4. Go back over, sorry. Remember, there are links to the first 4 in the description, but really quickly, the immutable and the mutable. Of the 7 universal laws, the first 3 are immutable external laws, meaning they are absolute and can never be changed or transcended. They have always existed and will always exist. The other 4 laws are transitory. Mutable laws meaning that they can be transcended or at least better used to create your ideal reality. This is not to say that you should ignore these 4 laws or attempt to defy them, for even if you do, they will still govern your existence. Your aim is to master each of the 7 universal laws and only then learn to transcend the mutable ones. Okay, that's big. So review. Number 1, the law of mentalism, an immutable law. It states that the all is mind, the universe is mental, that everything we see and experience in our physical world has its origins in the invisible mental realm. Okay. Number 2, the law of correspondence, also immutable law. The second law tells us, as above, so below, as below, so above. This means that there is harmony, agreement, and correspondence between the physical, mental, and spiritual realms. There's no separation. Everything is connected. Number 3, the law of vibration, immutable law. This states that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Okay? The whole universe is but a vibration. Everything is moving. Energy. Emotion just means energy in motion. Emotion, energy in motion. Okay, so everything is moving. That's when you can feel somebody's vibe or somebody feels happy. It bounces off of them. It can affect the whole room. Number 4, the law of polarity, which is the first of the mutable laws. Okay, that states that everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Hot, cold, light, dark, day, night, God, the devil, positive, negative, okay? And then moving on. And remember, there's links, so get caught up if you're behind. The law of rhythm is the 5th of the 7 universal laws and the 2nd of the mutable laws. Okay, the 5th of the 7 universal laws tells us that everything flows out and in. This is the law of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. It is the 2nd of the mutable or transcendable universal laws and means that the pendulum swings in everything. This principle can be seen in operation in the waves of the ocean. So we watch the tide go out, the tide go in. Okay? Night follows day. There's a rhythm. The seasons, business cycles, empires, nations. What else? The rise and fall of the greatest empires and business cycles in the swing of your thoughts from being positive to negative and in your personal success and failures. In accordance with this law, when anything reaches a point of culmination, then the backward swing begins almost unnoticeably until such time that any forward movement has been totally reversed. Then the forward movement begins again and the process is repeated. That's pretty big right there. So I'm going to read that again and not interject this time. The 5th of the 7 universal laws tells us that everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. It is the second of the mutable or transcendable universal laws and means that the pendulum swings in everything. This principle can be seen in operation in the waves of the ocean, in the rise and fall of the greatest empires, in business cycles, in the swing of your thoughts from being positive to negative, and in your personal successes and failures. In accordance with this law, when anything reaches a point of culmination, then the backward swing begins almost unnoticeably until such time that any forward movement has been totally reversed. Then the forward movement begins again and the process is repeated. I'm going to take a swig of water and let y'all marinate on that. The law of rhythm. So it's like the pendulum swing. We've seen that. People's offices, the rope or the link with the ball in the end, and then it hits one side and the thing just keeps going. Okay, that's rhythm. The law of rhythm. What does that mean to me? The law of rhythm basically means that there's an ebb and flow to the universe. There's a rhythm to the universe. So using a personal example, like many of you know, I'm an actor. And when I first started acting, I came out the gate pretty good, especially with commercials, just booking stuff, right? And then over time, there was a gap when I didn't. And I didn't understand the universal laws and the universal law of rhythm. So I was thinking it was something wrong with me or something I was doing that started me not, or the pendulum swing the other way, booking as much stuff. Okay? And then all of a sudden, I hit my stride again. And this time, it lasted longer. But once again, not understanding, but I know, I'm in a groove and things are kind of working out, going my way. And then, like it says, unnoticeably, it starts to peter out a little bit. Except this time, because I've been studying and trying to expand my consciousness, I understand what's happening. It's the law of rhythm. So the upswing is, good. And this is in every condition, every circumstance in your life. So relationships, health, I'm just happen to be talking about career, friendships, it could be anything. So, the pendulum swing to the either side, to the right, is, wow, I'm really fumbling over my thoughts today, is the upswing. So the upswing is going, right? And then it gets to a certain peak, and then it starts going back the other way, right? So the beauty of this is and these are like little cheesy sayings that people always talk about. What goes up must come down. That's the law of rhythm. So the real estate market going up and then crashing, oil prices going up and then down, or gas prices going. We just went through a recent surge of low gas prices, and then all of a sudden in the last month, whoop, they went right back up. So that's just the natural flow of life. There's seasons. Summer lasts for a certain amount of time, and then it transitions to fall. Fall lasts for a certain amount of time, then it and we can. This is predictable stuff in your relationships. Excuse me. You'll be with somebody and things are great. Guys are really getting along, and then all of a sudden you hit a rough patch. And then what happens is a lot of times in the rough patch is where a lot of people break up, not understanding that there's going to be an ebb and flow to the relationship. So when you understand that, and it talks about trying to become a master or really understanding the law, and it being a mutable law, meaning you can transcend, you can rise above the condition. So emotionally, from here on out, I wouldn't allow myself to get too up or too down, because I know the pendulum is swinging. So I had a buddy of mine ask me yesterday, he's like, well, what do you do when you're in a downswing? And I said, how do you prepare for it? And I go, well, knowing when you're in the upswing, right? And let's talk finances. I shouldn't be spending all the money that comes in, right? Because I should know that it doesn't last forever, that there's a pendulum swing. So I should probably live on less than what I'm making. Stack that to the side. So when the inevitable downswing hits, right, I'm able to sustain myself, understanding that it was up, now it's down, but by law, it has to go up again. What I didn't understand when I didn't realize that law was I'm balling out when it's going good because I'm thinking, hey, man, I can just keep doing what I'm doing. It's going to last forever. And then you hit a rough patch and it's like, oh, snap. What happened? Like, what am I doing? And then when you understand how the other laws are connected, remember, the first law of the universe is my thoughts create my reality. So if I don't understand the law of rhythm and I hit a downswing and all of a sudden things are going bad and that becomes my dominant vibration, I can prolong the downswing. And that's the last thing we want to do. So I understand that I should enjoy my upswing, but not like, ooh, wow, it's going to last forever, because at some point I have to prepare for the downswing and then not get too down, because I understand the downswing is temporary because by law it has to go back up. So I'm not saying you're going to like it, but it makes for a more enjoyable experience when you understand the law of rhythm. So, you know, it talks about the ocean and the water, the tide going out and tide coming in. So emotionally, what I'm talking about is when the tide goes out, do we get upset? Oh, man. And then when the tide comes back in, yay, the water's back. It's like that's a hell of an emotional roller coaster to be on. And then we're talking about years of somebody's life. It's like, no, if we understand the process, right? So I'm on the upswing, right? And I'm enjoying it, and I feel, wow, I'm not booking as much. Things are, you know, opportunities, whatever. Okay, don't allow your emotions to dive with it. Because I understand, oh, wow, I had a really good run. Maybe it's time for me to enter my downswing, but now what could I be doing during the downswing? Hopefully I prepared for it. And then is there other areas of me as a human being that I can grow and expand in with the extra time that I have, right? Because we always want to try to find a silver lining to expand, to grow. So for me, the last couple of years, I've been traveling a lot, right? Reading a lot, studying a lot, growing, evolving, expanding my consciousness, and now having a better understanding of life's ups and downs, but they're really just a product of the law of rhythm. Okay, I hope I'm making sense. Rising above the law of rhythm. To transcend the swing of the pendulum, you must become aware of the subtle start of the backward movement in any of your endeavors, whether it be to improve your health, your finances, your relationships, or any goal you set in motion. Okay? When you feel the law start to draw you back, do not become fearful or discouraged, which is what we just talked about. Instead, knowing that you are one with the omnipotent universal mind for which nothing is impossible. Keep your thoughts focused on your outcome and fight to remain positive no matter how far back this transitory law pulls you. Even if your efforts meet with failure, find comfort that by virtue of this very same law, the upward motion must start again. In time, your perseverance will be rewarded as the backward movements become less negative relative to your previous backward swings, and you raise your vibration. So that's pretty empowering to me. I know that will piss some people off, and when I didn't understand it, probably would have pissed me off. But that's a really empowering thought to know that I don't have to allow myself emotionally to take that ride. And I'm not saying you're not going to feel stuff. Like, people be like, oh, you don't have any feelings. It's like, no. But I've definitely learned to manage, discipline myself, exercise my emotions so I can have control over them as opposed to them having control over me. And then understanding that perseverance, they talked about that. That's a big word. That's why when people continue to show up for whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, at some point you are going to be successful because of the law of rhythm. So you may enter into something on a downswing unbeknownst to you and trying, fail, trying, fail, trying, fail, trying, fail. And all of a sudden, without you even realizing, the pendulum swing starts to go back to the left. And all of a sudden, something happens. And you're like, oh, snap. And then now you get better, more things come. And then all of a sudden, it plateaus and then it starts to peter out. Look at, some of our famous athletes, some of our famous celebrities that start out gangbusters really hot, and then it's like, what happened to them? That's what happens. The law of rhythm, right? Now, but then we see them come back a lot of times. Now, if they don't, or we don't implode during the downswing, and you stick with it and stay with it, reinvent yourself, keep trying new things, keep expanding, keep growing, by law, it's going to turn itself around, right? I'm not saying to sit around and do nothing during your downswing. Me personally, I was like, I'm going to take this opportunity to expand and grow and improve in whatever area. So when my upswing comes back around, I'll hopefully be able to maintain it longer, right? Because I will have a better understanding of what's going on. I will be more prepared, better prepared for the downswing. So now the downswing won't affect me so much financially, which is what we're talking about, or career-wise, using my personal example. Okay? Let's continue to read. The law of rhythm. Once again, everything vibrates and moves to certain rhythms. These rhythms establish seasons, cycles, stages of development, and patterns. Each cycle reflects the regularity of God's universe. The law of rhythm states that the energy in the universe is like a pendulum. Whenever something swings to the right, it must then swing to the left. Everything in existence is involved in a dance, swaying, flowing, swinging back and forth. Everything is either growing or dying. That's why I say during the downswing, don't be sitting around doing nothing, because if you're not growing, you're dying. This law can be seen in the cycles of economies. We talked about that. There is a high period, then a low period. Our seasons. You can see that the seasons are in a continuous flow of summer to winter. Everything goes through cycles, yet everything has a rhythm or pattern. What seems to be random is actually very orderly. The law of rhythm also governs our economy, health, relationships, and spirituality. Excuse me. Let's say that you're at peak potential with your health and fitness. If you realize you're at the peak, then you can foresee your health and fitness dropping some. However, instead of viewing this drop in health as something being wrong with you, you now view it as a sign to rest your body. Then by law, you have to grow to a better and higher state of potential. I can attest to that recently, and like I said, a lot of people know me. I'm big on fitness, big on what I'm putting in my mouth, eating, and I was really pushing myself, trying to get stronger and lifting heavier weight, and then I went so far as ended up injuring my elbow, popped a ligament in my elbow, and it caused me to have to rest, right? So my body, I took advantage of this time. My body was basically telling me, okay, you went as far as you can go, right? Because I was going to keep pushing it, keep doing more. Injury caused me to let me know that, okay, you went too far. Now it's time for the swing to go back the other way. So for a month, couldn't really do a whole lot of weightlifting, right? I did some running, resting, hiking. It got me outside, taking in the scenery, the views of the city and stuff like that. And then when my body recuperated, then I was gradually able to start working my way back in there, doing more cardio, basketball, and stuff like that. And it really forced me to pay attention to my diet more because I couldn't exercise when my elbow was hurting. So I used that downtime or that downswing as a chance for me to rest and recuperate, as opposed to being pissed off and upset that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I understood that I was the cause of it. Okay? Masters know how to rise above negative parts of a cycle by never getting too excited or allowing negative things to penetrate their consciousness. The key to success in mastering this law is imbalance. Never allow your emotions to swing too far to the left or to the right. And that's where a lot of us struggle the most, because we don't understand this law. So when it becomes a spiral effect, and we're so used to, negativity and stuff like that, that once something negative shows up, we fall all out of balance, and we spiral out of control. I got another buddy who always says something always happens, and then inevitably something does. Like he's preparing for the worst all the time, so the worst shows up. He's prepared for it, but it shows up. I was like, why don't you stop saying something always happens? Like, understand the flow of the universe. There's going to be times where things aren't going to go our way. But should we allow ourselves emotionally to take that dip with it? Masters don't. Masters rise above. They understand the flow of the universe. They understand that. So they don't get too high, don't get too low. It doesn't mean you're emotionless. It means you're disciplining yourself, just like muscles, exercising your muscles, getting control. Discipline yourself to have better control of your emotions so you don't get too far out of it. And when it does happen, you can use processes or these laws to bring yourself back into balance. What else we got? We might be wrapping this up a little early today. The law of rhythm also dictates that there's a time for all things. In the universe, in life, in all things, there is a season. A time for all things. As we learned in the previous law, the law of polarity, is last video, there is a polar opposite to all things. In the law of rhythm, we discovered that there is a time for all things. Right? So a lot of surfers know when they're sitting out there in the ocean trying to ride them waves that there's a timing to catching that wave and riding it out before it peters out and then swimming back out and doing it again. They don't get pissed off after they rode the nice wave and had a nice ride and then it peters out, and then they get excited about the next opportunity that's coming. They restrap the board and make sure everything is good. They're checking their suit, checking the conditions, and then they go back out there and do it again. There's a timing to everything. Remember, without bad, there is no good. One must present itself to us to fully appreciate the other, and there's a season for both. Our task is to deal with these changes in the season responsibly. It is all in how we respond to these rhythms that make the difference. We can choose to accept them for what they are and ride the tide, or we can fight against it. The choice is ours. Just remember, if you choose to fight, you will bring only more of it into your life. If you ride the tide of change, you will soon be facing a new season. Okay? I'm saying it, pretty much saying the same thing over and over. I think you guys understand. So just real quick, the law of rhythm, it's the fifth of the 7 universal laws. It tells us that everything has flows. Everything does flow out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. Okay? So sometimes that's that thing where sometimes you feel good, your body feels great, and sometimes you don't. Like some days you just don't have it. It's the law of rhythm. It's the law of rhythm. It's like there's nothing to be down about. Excuse me. That's just the law of rhythm. The pendulum swing. The pendulum is swinging. Right? And our job is to understand that, become a master, rise above the condition. Don't get too up, don't get too down. And I've been using money as an example. So what I decided to do was is to live on less than what I earn. Right? Not in anticipation of anything bad happening, but understand at some point there's going to be a downswing, and then I'll have something stashed away. It's like the squirrel that gathers all the nuts for the winter. So they spend all summer because they're preparing, because there's going to come a time when there's no opportunity to go out and get food. So they stacking all summer in anticipation of the winter. Does that make sense? So all I'm saying is and the winter is not negative, it's just a part of the life cycle, the flow of the universe, the law of polarity. Like, it's just all a part of this grand scheme that we live in. Okay? So living on 90% of what I make as opposed to 100. Taking 10%, sticking it to the side, sticking it to the side. And then it just creates discipline. So just not getting too high and not getting too low. Understanding that nothing lasts forever. There's a flow. You know, like I said, economies rise and fall. Nations rise and fall. Relationships rise and fall. Money, physical money, rises and falls. Okay? So check the links. The first law, the law of mentalism. Second law, the law of correspondence. Third law, the law of vibration. Fourth law, the law of polarity. The fifth law, the law of rhythm. Okay, you should be able to start reciting these to yourself every day. Read a little bit about them every day. And then pay attention into your world to see where you notice it. Because they're governing your existence whether you choose to acknowledge it or not. So we might as well acknowledge it and use it to our advantage. All right? Y'all have a great week. Brooklyn Mclinn. I don't even think I introduced myself today. I'm a little off, but hey, we got the law of rhythm. All right? I ain't always gonna be on point, but we gonna bust through this anyway. So next up will be the sixth law. Just as a heads up, one of my favorites, the law of cause and effect, or the law of consequence. All right? Have a good day. Peace.